There are 130 players participating in the first ever season of Blizzard Entertainment's Overwatch League. These players are spread across 12 teams representing major cities from around the world, and only one of them is female. For a game like Overwatch, which is very vocal about its goal of representing a diverse array of characters in-game, this stat seems a bit off. It's not as if women are less skilled at competitive video games. There are a number of high-profile streamers who compete in Overwatch's online mode at a high level. There isn't some imposed physical limitation to entry like in some mainstream sports. And even in those areas, there are exceptional women trying to break through that opposition. So the question remains, why are there so few women associated with the Overwatch League? To understand this, I believe it's important to discuss the contributing factors that deter girls in esports. It's no secret that video game advertising, especially for competitive titles, tends to lean heavily towards guys. The history of this targeted approach dates back to the 80s with the wild success of the Nintendo Entertainment System. Nintendo wanted a safe demographic to target after the recent video game crisis of the 70s, and the consensus they came to was that more boys played video games. It wasn't that girls weren't playing games, but there were more boys doing it according to Nintendo's data. Future game companies would witness Nintendo's success with their home console, and those marketing teams would follow suit, aggressively pursuing a male audience. And ads like some of these women are, at best, nuisances to the true male gamer.
You are so totally whipped. I'm Brad. Let's ride a bicycle built for two. Then we can go to the potpourri store and then go buy sheets. Would you rather be at home shooting a bazooka or watching a chick flick? Chick flick, bazooka. Chick flick, bazooka.
Who's that? Brad. I don't know. Brad?
These types of campaigns are, on their own, self-fulfilling prophecies. Fewer public images of young girls with an interest in gaming leads to fewer girls believing that games are for them, which of course leads to the pseudo-confirmation that girls don't want to play games, and even less marketing media aimed at girls. It goes on and on. I'm skipping over a lot of nuance here for time's sake, but fast forward a few decades and this outdated notion that girls don't play video games hasn't really budged, but it has spread to the esports scene. Some marketers are still heavily pursuing male interest in these new competitive arenas, and so we end up with event advertisements like this one. That ad was for an event put on by a professional European Counter-Strike team, and in it the women aren't even people. They're just sex objects lying in wait for the horny male gaze. While that particular video is an extreme example, the point here is that cultivating more female pro players can't be done when the industry is selling such alienating imagery. This essay is primarily focused on the Overwatch League, but the truth is the entire competitive gaming community needs to realize that anyone can be a potential competitor and adjust their marketing strategies accordingly. Now, let's get back to Overwatch.
Welcome back everyone to another developer update. I'm Jeff from the Overwatch team, and today's developer update is going to be a little bit different than the normal ones we do. Usually we're talking about new cool content and features, but today I would like to address an issue that I think a lot of us have been feeling for some time, and that's sort of the rising tide of toxicity or bad behavior in the game versus what are we Blizzard going to do about it, and what are we as a community together going to do about it.
Since the game came out in 2016, it has had a problem with player toxicity. This is bad for the community in general, but it can be especially harmful for female gamers.
Unfortunate.
Mercy's not working out for you, dumb cunt. Learn how to fucking play a proper character. 45 hours, you still suck. I guess girls just suck at video games in general, you fucking stupid whore.
Wow.
Even after getting past the biased stereotypes about who plays video games and logging into Overwatch, a female gamer might have to endure the mocking, derisive, or even dangerous forms of harassment dished out by other online players.
How about you play, go to the fucking kitchen?
Damn, that's savage.
Overwatch is a game that actively encourages team interaction, and honing the ability to make quick and informative voice calls is one of the many keys to becoming a pro player. The added difficulty of navigating unwelcoming players or those that just freak out at even the sound of a female voice can be discouraging to women who want to keep practicing online in order to become a higher level player. Granted, the Overwatch development team has taken steps towards dealing with particularly toxic players on their platform, but as of yet, no complete solution is available.
Let's close out the discussion here with the Dragons once again. A lot of hype around Gaguri. She's coming into today, playing on the main stage for the first time. They've given her a week of practice coming into the week. What are the expectations?
Despite all of the toxicity and unfounded gender norms, one female player has made it to the Overwatch League stage. Korean player Gaguri joined the Shanghai Dragons team in Stage 3 of the Overwatch League and set off a frenzy of speculation after her inclusion was announced. She was a new addition to a team that, as of posting this video, had never won an Overwatch League match. Anticipation was high for her debut as her immediately adoring fans waited to view and judge her performance. Unfortunately, this level of attention is never entirely positive. There are still those internet denizens that stand at the ready to heap a ton of gender-infused criticism on top of her head whenever she does literally anything imperfect on the competitive stage. She just wants to play a game she enjoys competitively, but the scrutiny she's under, both positive and negative, certainly doesn't help her play at her best at all times. While overall Gaguri joining the Overwatch League is a good thing, it could still have discouraging effects on other up-and-coming female gamers who won't wish to join Gaguri in that bright spotlight. However, I would be remiss if I didn't at least point out all the other women who are an integral part of the Overwatch League, but aren't necessarily shown on camera. Beyond the excellent hosting and interviewing skills of Zoe, there are still female producers and writers and referees and other creatives behind the scenes working incredibly hard to bring the exciting events of Overwatch Esports live to hundreds of thousands of people each week. These dedicated individuals should be celebrated more, while the community continues to call for more female players to make what Gaguri is doing, playing high-skill Overwatch alongside her male counterparts, the new normal. On the surface, the Overwatch League has a long way to go in terms of expanding its professional female roster. That much is without a doubt true, and they may have a chance to do so with the 6 new Overwatch teams that will be added to the league next season. Before that can readily happen though, there are still changes that need to be embraced by the competitive gaming culture overall. Marketers need to continue to infuse appropriate female imagery into their campaigns. Regular players need to normalize the routes female gamers have to take to become professionals, while self-policing these online lobbies for toxic behavior. And above all else, we need to treat these talented gamers like people. It seems odd to have to say this, but women are just as human as any guy that has ever held his own joystick. Let women be great or terrible or anywhere in between in gaming without having to do with girls not playing video games. As these attitudes and the culture surrounding gaming in general continue to shift on an international level, one thing is certain: there will be more girls in esports.